Hello, my name is Michael Jarvis and I work as a painter in the studio 177. My practice, as you will probably see, is quite abstract. It's exploratory, I would say, and quite experimental, in as much as I don't tend to plan things out beforehand, but I allow the materials to dictate to me the way a piece might go, whether it's a drawing or a painting. I've been working in the John Marley Centre ever since we opened, and before that I was working at Bamborough House in Newcastle. I think one of the problems for visual artists is that there's a tendency for them to bury themselves in their studio, work away, and not really have much interaction with other people. Even though there are like literally dozens of people working here, when I come in here on a fairly regular basis, say once every other day, I don't see that many people. If I do, it's the same kind of people. And I think it's important as an artist to interact with other people, to have a dialogue. Now, my little unit here is part of a larger group of studios in the room 177. So there is actually 4 units. So what I wanted to do was to create a situation where 4 artists, that's me and 3 other artists here, could make an exhibition and find some way to interact and collaborate with each other, which is what we eventually did. We had an exhibition at the Moving Gallery in Sunderland. And I felt that was like really important, because even though our practices are very different, like textiles, sculpture, painting, there were a kind of lot of commonalities between us in terms of like our creativity and our willingness to embrace the ethos of each other's work. It's through Breeze Creatives that these kinds of areas and spaces for people to work is of absolutely fundamental importance. Not only for the creative practitioners themselves, but as part of the community, because part of the beauty of this is that the people in the community can come in and see what we're doing. So we're not kind of corralled away from everybody, but can actually interact with them. So I see that spaces like Breeze are offering here as quite rare, to be honest. What do I get out of being an artist? That's a really interesting question. I've always fiddled about with materials and making things since I was a kid, and I'm largely self-taught and came to the education of art later on. I mean, in a previous life, I was a primary school teacher, and then I worked at Northumbria University as a senior lecturer in arts and arts education. So I've always been very interested in the creative sides of education, and I think it's an area that's woefully neglected these days, especially in our country where people's knowledge of the visual arts is very limited, I find. An example of that is people always want to know what your work is about. You know, if it's not figurative, people get uncomfortable and they can't deal with the kind of supposed strangeness of it. To which my retort is, well, if you like a piece of music, a piece of jazz or a piece of classical music, you don't ask what the meaning of it is. You just like enjoy it. It kind of speaks to you in some way. And I think painting can have the same kind of effect on you. I studied as an academic, I guess, for quite a few years. I did a PhD which focused on the practice of painting. And when I was working at the university, a lot of people were always fond of telling me that painting was going out of fashion. But of course, every time somebody says that, then painting has a way of kind of always resurrecting itself. So the focus of my PhD was about that. And when I was studying, I wanted to, first of all, make the practice of painting a focus of the PhD. But as I got into it and as I found out more about the practice, I found that doing the painting was one thing. Talking about it and theorizing about it was quite another. And although there were kind of overlaps, in the end, I felt that it was much more interesting as a painter for me to kind of theorize about the practice instead of trying to embody some kind of academic standard within the work itself, because I don't think that's really possible. And I think that ultimately a meaning in any work of art is what you bring to it yourself, your life experiences. Some works will speak to you, some will not have any resonance at all. But I like to keep my options as a painter quite open-ended. I guess I'm just a glorified player of, and I like to play around with paint. That's basically it. There's nothing more sophisticated than that. If you're interested in knowing more about me and my work, I've got an Instagram page, which I started during the COVID time when it was quite difficult for people to get out and kind of interact with each other. So my Instagram handle is Mike_Jarvis_painter, and you can message me through that.